Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan. Our show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. Shout out to our very good friends in Nigeria who are watching. You know, I got a very interesting message today, and listen, look, if you're watching us in Nigeria, we love you. You are our friends, you are our brothers, you are our cousins. It's your kind. You win the AFCON, we'll be happy. Nobody hates Nigeria. And somebody will ask me why I'm saying it's important because I don't want anybody to misinterpret some of the things we do on this show. So if you're watching us from Nigeria, we love you absolutely brilliantly. You are our friends, you are our brothers. It's all jokes, it's all banter. But if Nigeria has to win the AFCON, Nigeria has to win the AFCON. Nothing we say or anybody says can stop Nigeria from winning the AFCON. So shout outs to the people in South Africa. Go Mzansi. We pray that you also do well. What I'd love to see is the Amapiano versus Afrobeats banter. I just love those conversations. I think they are fun. But look, we don't breed any anti-whatever sentiment on the show. It's all jokes, it's all love, it's all banter. We do the best we can. So if somebody's up in their feelings, I'm sorry. Let me welcome my guest. Kwame Safo, how are you doing?
Hello, Nathan.
Edwin Kwakofi, how are you doing?
Hello, Nathan.
Susu Graham is joining us on the Zoom. I haven't seen Susu in a while. Susu, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Alrighty. Today you are with us the long haul because we are doing numbers, data, stats, and that is your theme. Alrighty.
I know why I'm here. I know what I have to do.
You know what you have to do. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's start off with the predictions. Now, heading into the competition, stats giant Opta put out a very interesting chart as to who they felt would win the AFCON. I think Senegal were high up there, Morocco were high up there, and some other countries. Ghana was very low, and rightly so. The Black Stars didn't do really, really well in the competition. Now, after many rounds of football, and in the last four, Opta have put out another prediction, giving us who they believe will win the AFCON based on stats and numbers. Let's have a look at what Opta is saying, and it will form the bedrock of our conversation. So Nigeria, amazing. Nigeria are distant front runners, 41.7%. No surprises there. They've played some great football, and it looks like they've cracked the code in terms of how to go through a tournament and win games. Score 1-2 maximum, defend like your life depends on it, and you are most likely to progress further and further into the competition. Cote d'Ivoire is second, 21.2%. I'm quite surprised they are, well, not too surprised, but I thought they would have a lower percentage because if you look at all the things they've done, there's a lot of determination, hunger, and passion. Great changes by MS5, but it's gotten them here. So 21.2%. DR Congo, 20.4%. And then South Africa, 16.7%. Now, if anybody watched our show yesterday, our very good friend Laurence Koller, he was talking about the fact that the South Africans are happy nonetheless. It doesn't matter what happens to Bafana from this point onwards. They'll be received like heroes. And should they go on and do, quote unquote, the unimaginable, you can imagine the parties that will be in Joburg, Pretoria, Sandton, wherever it is in South Africa. So those are the Opta numbers in terms of who can potentially win this year's AFCON. Let me start off with Susu. Susu, your thoughts on the Opta predictions? Nigeria front runners. You've got Cote d'Ivoire second, DR Congo, and then South Africa in that order.
I mean, when you look at this competition, it's been about who can keep their defense clean. Because you look at a team like Nigeria, it's been about their defense. I don't think they've scored more than a goal a game. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you look at their stats, they're very solid at the back. Exactly. So they've been very solid at the back. They are very compact. That's what has got them through this tournament. If I remember correctly, their keeper has a 90% save percentage. So of the shots he's faced, he's saved about 90%. So they are keeping everything out. They are difficult to break down. You won't get too many chances. What I do fear for Nigeria is, and in fact, Nigeria also probably create the most chances as well. When you look at the kind of open play chances they've been creating, the problem is that Osimhen has not been firing. You know, he has an XG of about 3, and he's only scored 1 goal. So you look at what they are doing as a team, the chances are there. They are keeping it compact at the back. They are doing everything right, but the ball is just not going into the net as much. So the defense is their real strength right now because their forwards are kind of misfiring. I think Lookman is pulling his weight, but the rest of them are really not doing what they're supposed to do. So I look at Nigeria. If their forwards have one good game, be it the semi-final or the final, I don't see how any other team beats them because of how solid they are at the back. Then you look at Ivory Coast, who basically rode their luck throughout the tournament. If I remember correctly, I don't believe Ivory Coast, apart from the first game they've won, they've not led for more than about 2-3 minutes in any of the games they played after that, if you think about it, because they lost the rest of their group games. Then they went on to play Senegal. They won on penalties. They came from behind, if I remember correctly. Then you come and play Mali. You score an equalizer in the last minute of added time. You score your winner basically in the 9 minutes of extra time. So they are not a team that's particularly solid at the back, but they've scored when it matters. I mean, this is a team that they've scored 5 goals all tournaments, if I remember correctly. They've conceded 7. So they don't look too good on paper, but they are getting the results. But I always say when a team is playing like that, their luck has to end at some point, So for me, that's why I just don't see Ivory Coast as credible winners of the tournament. And DRC are a bit up and down. They have some good games, they have some bad games. So they're a bit more interesting. But South Africa are also very solid defensively. I expect the game between Nigeria and South Africa to be very, very cagey, very difficult. But I believe on paper, from what we've seen and on paper, Nigeria are the best team left. And it'd be a very difficult thing for them if they don't win it, because it looks like everything is pointing to them as a winner. All the other contenders have bowed out. So, look, can understand why the numbers are saying that. My eyes are saying that. Everything is saying that. But we've been watching this tournament where we expected Cote d'Ivoire to go out a long time ago, and they are still here. So anything can happen.
Interesting thoughts from Susu. Guys, your thoughts on Opta's predictions, giving us the likely winners of the AFCON.
I'm yet to... No, it's not even about Opta. From pundits to journalists, I'm yet to find someone who had his top 4 predictions spot on. Before the tournament, we all had top 4 predictions. You might get just one, which is a lot of people predicted Cote d'Ivoire before the tournament.
Okay.
But not even anyone who predicted Cote d'Ivoire did not expect it to pan out this way. Because Cote d'Ivoire, like Frank has said, they are ghosts now. And you cannot taunt ghosts, or you cannot kill that which is already dead.
Yeah.
So with the prediction, I understand why Nigeria would have the highest percentage. I actually think Cote d'Ivoire's percentage is a little bit lower.
Okay.
But
than it should be?
Than it should be.
Okay.
Because I guess that is the science, it's about how they are playing, it's about their XGs and all. But Cote d'Ivoire is playing with this spirit. I don't know how to say, like, there's the home crowd with them. There's the will and determination and the zeal. And after they beat Senegal, surely you would have thought their luck would run out. Mali scores in the 70th minute. They can, and it's unbelievable. What it gives them is this faith, this renewed faith that they can do it, like they are indestructible.
Okay. And
that in and of itself, and having the home advantage, gives them a lot. And let's not forget, even though they are not performing, they still have quality. They still have quality throughout. Even with a lot of players missing, a player like Jeremy Boga is not even getting a look in. These are players who can perform at any time. But as a collective, Nigeria has been outstanding. They've conceded just 1 goal in the tournament. And in their first game, I don't think Mwabali was their goalkeeper. I think Thomas Partey's friend, Uzoho, was the goalkeeper in that first game. They didn't have a great game. And they brought in Mwabali from Chippa United, also plays in South Africa. Yeah. He's not a third goalkeeper in South Africa, though. Also plays in South Africa. And there's just this aura about him. He started in the Cote d'Ivoire game.
He's had 4 out of 5 clean sheets.
Yes, and there's just that aura. He's been able to not be very good as a goalkeeper, but the back line, he's been able to dictate his back line, and everything has gone on. It shows that just a change can change it. Because against Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria's defense was not impressive. Equatorial Guinea could have scored more than 1 goal. They conceded just 1, came out with a 1-1 draw. Very lucky to have come out with a 1-1 draw. But after that game, from the Cote d'Ivoire game to the Guinea-Bissau game, they found a way to grind out draws. Their goalkeeper has been, if you trust your goalkeeper defensively, you'll be good in shape. So the only problem with the Nigeria team pre-tournament, because I clearly remember listening to this show, it was not this show, but one of the media houses, Ghanaian media houses, before the AFCON tournament. Okay. And they had a Nigerian journalist and a Ghanaian journalist. I promise you, the Nigerians didn't have hope in their team. Wow. They didn't have faith in their coach. They didn't have faith in their players. And they had lost to Guinea. They didn't have faith in their team. and they had missed out on players like this midfielder Ndidi.
Yes,
they had
Ndidi.
missed out on Ndidi. They had missed out on Victor Boniface. They didn't have hope in that team. But there's just something that if the midfield is not doing, a player like Onyeka walks in, makes it solid. Defensively, they are very good. And I know they don't want to talk about Sanusi, so I'll just say Calvin Bassey is giving them something good on the flanks. Victor Osimhen might not be prolific, but the damage he causes defense. Yesterday we were highlighting it on the show about the Angola, how he takes all the attention and then frees up people like Lukman to perform, frees up Moses Simon to perform. It's very understandable and it's very right that Nigeria will have the highest percentage. But I feel it should be very close with Cote d'Ivoire.
Okay.
I mean, Congo is good, but we all know Congo has won just one game at this tournament. And their game against Guinea. Personally, yesterday I was watching the show. I think we are not called. Yeah, you guys didn't even call out the Guinea goalkeeper out a lot. I feel like the first goal on his first post, he shouldn't be giving away that goal. Yes, Masuaku has scored this kind of technique, but as a goalkeeper, these are things you should be alert to. You don't rush when the ball, you don't anticipate the ball before it's being kicked like that. So I think Guinea had themselves to blame. They gave away a cheap penalty too. So, I mean, Congo, yeah, I like them. I like their goal celebration.
Yeah,
I like their team a lot.
dramatic.
But I think even percentage-wise, South Africa should be above Congo. Why am I saying that? Yes, South Africa had a bad game against Cape Verde. Cape Verde was the better side. But Cape Verde was tipped by most people after their first two games to be one of the best teams in this tournament. So I understand that. I see South Africa's performance against Morocco, and they're a team who, on their day, can hold their own. They are also the second best team who have kept a lot of clean sheets. So I think comparative-wise, it should be Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa, Congo.
Okay.
But like Susu said, I was listening to ESPN this morning. They were talking about the AFCON, and they're like, they don't think everyone will predict will be the people to be beat because this African Cup is one of the craziest ever. So we could end up having a DR Congo South Africa final, and I won't bat an eyelid.
Okay, all right. Let's have a look at the other bit that Opta has got to share. They've kind of predicted who will win the semi-final, and okay, I see that's quite interesting there. Okay, so they predict a 65.8% in terms of win percentage really for Nigeria against, okay, and then the rest 30 plus, 31 plus, or 35 plus percent is for South Africa. The other semi-final, okay, so they predict a 48.3% win for La Côte d'Ivoire, and then, okay, and then the rest they predict for DR Congo. Edwin, let me get your thoughts on this. These are, of course, based on a number of things, everything that's happened so far. You throw all of those numbers into a blender, shake it, and this is what you get.
Look, on the basis of what we've seen so far at the AFCON, Nigeria absolutely deserve to be favorites.
Yeah.
On paper, I would have felt that South Africa would have a higher percentage. But you can tell why South Africa have the lowest percentage. Everyone expects Nigeria to win that semi-final. Once Nigeria wins it, South Africa have no chance of winning the AFCON. That's why they have such a low percentage. Okay. So you can tell who they predict will win each of the semi-finals based on where the teams are positioned. I think that starting from the bottom, South Africa have had a fantastic tournament. Defensively wise, aside the Mali game in the opening round of games, they've been really, really solid. I think they've grown into the tournament offensively as well. The players are starting to, gel with each other, chemistry-wise, passing. It's been superb from that Mali game. Even in that Mali game, there were moments, there were sequences in the game where you could tell that this was a team that had something special about it. How they moved the ball around, how they were able to move quickly from defensive situations into offense in a matter of a couple of passes, 3 passes, and they are in your penalty box. That is something I've always treasured in football, how teams are able to move quickly from defense into attack. And this South African team has shown in several games that they can do it. So they've been very impressive for me. Them being underdogs will play right into their hands. I'm sure the players will be looking at the numbers and laughing at themselves because they know how good they are, they know how good they can be, and they will certainly cause Nigeria a couple of problems in that semi-final. Whether they'll win it, I'm not too sure about that, but it's not going to be a blowout. And none of the games so far, maybe you could say the DRC Guinea one was probably a blowout, but I don't think any of the other games has been a blowout. Teams have gone for it, and I expect South Africa to do the same against Nigeria. With DRC, yeah, they've been very, very good. How they've approached games, they've understood their opponents, they know when they have to defend. Against Egypt, you are coming up against Egypt, you know that, okay, you are going to be under the cosh for much of the game. Defend, take your chances, ensure that you are tight at the back, and they were exactly that. In the group stages, they were really solid as well. Came up against Morocco in the group stages, were brilliant in the game. I'm still surprised they did not pick up all 3 points. So they've shown throughout the tournament that they can be a solid side when they need to be, but they are also resilient.
Of course, they've had to come back.
They've had to come back a couple of times. That Egypt game was superb.
I mean, the Egypt game was the only one they left.
They left
because they came back against
Morocco.
But
having
came back against
usually, and one of our colleagues has said it. Usually, when a team comes from behind or equalizes before a penalty shootout, they have the momentum. So to be able to keep their heads and not lose it after the equalizer they conceded, that was very good on their part. On the topic of resilience, the most resilient team at the tournament has been the Ivory Coast. Seeing them up there, second behind Nigeria, is a bit of a surprise, considering, as Susu said, and he enumerated their problems pretty clearly. They are a team that is not as solid as the others in the semi-finals. Okay. They've only led, as he said, for about 5 to 10 minutes, and that was against in the game against Mali that they won. They've conceded quite a number of goals. They fall apart very easily, especially in that final game against Equatorial Guinea. They conceded, the pressure got to them, they fell apart. I think it's improved because the fans are starting to believe a lot, getting on their side. The players themselves are starting to believe. They believe they have nothing to lose, so they are going into every game, or they are going into every game for the long haul, 90 minutes. They still go at it because they feel a miracle can come out of it. So this is a team with luck, with fortune, with probably the home fans on their side. So they are going to cause a problem. I think that the semi-final might be the end for them in terms of how they progress against DRC. I don't see them progressing against DRC. But we've said they will not progress against Senegal. We said they will not progress against Mali, and they made it through. So who knows? I might be wrong again. They might get to the final and eventually win it. But on Nigeria's part, they have the most balanced squad out of every single team left in the competition. Attacking-wise, brilliant side. And midfield, a little shaky, but I think they make up for it in terms of hard work, in terms of desire and commitment. Okay. In defense, they might not stand out as the biggest names, but they've shown in this tournament that they are willing to work for the team. Nwabili, who has been in Nigeria's goal for the last few games, has been superb. And against Angola, he's the one who kept them in the game. A wonderful save to keep out Angola in the first half, and some other good saves in the second half to keep out Mabululu and a couple others. In the Ivory Coast game, the group stages, he made a wonderful save from Fofana as well. So he's not been just the defense marshaller. He's actually stood up for Nigeria when they needed him to, when the defense has been breached. And that's what you need, a goalkeeper that you can trust. That's what every defense wants behind them. If they know that even if they are breached, their goalkeeper will be there to save them in the worst of scenarios. And to have a balanced squad like that, even with Osimhen not firing on all cylinders. He's still working hard for the team. And imagine if he starts scoring goals. That's basically what Nigeria are missing right now. The goal threat of Osimhen. Lookman has been fantastic. Moses Simon, since he got into the starting lineup, has been brilliant. They've supported him well. And he's worked as the anchor between the two of those two players, the anchor of the front line for Nigeria. And I think they deserve to be called favorites for the tournament as it stands.
All right, let me get back to Susu. Susu, all these things, these numbers, predictions, the stats and everything, how significant are they? Do they point us in the direction that these things are likely to happen, or they are just premised on the numbers? That's what the numbers say, so that is what we'll get.
I mean, you only know what's happened before. You don't know anything that will happen in the future. So, I mean, it's an amalgamation of everything we've seen, just put in number form. It's not any extreme thing. We've all seen Cote d'Ivoire, and we are not convinced by them, which is why they are not favorites in that way. In another scenario, let's say Cote d'Ivoire have won every game. They are winning 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. They are difficult to break down. Their percentage would be higher. I think it's just based on what we've seen. The significance is this team has been convincing in this way. This team has not been convincing. So in terms of the numbers, it's significant to say who has played well in the past. But like we always know, football is played on the pitch. So your best player can get an injury in the second minute. Your keeper can get a red card in the third minute. Anything can happen in the game. So the predictions are indicative. They tell you something. But I believe in a tournament where you've only played, 5 games so far?
Yeah,
if I
5
correct
so
me
far,
if I'm wrong. 5 games. The statistical significance is not as strong because remember, 5 games is not enough to give you a strong sample. If you're looking at this kind of data for a league match where you've played 20-something games, it's a bit stronger in that sense. So the stats are significant, but there's a lot of uncertainty because of what we've seen in the past and the kind of things that have happened. So we have to take it with a pinch of salt, but we also have to understand that the stats themselves, there's no agenda. They are just working based on things that have happened in the past. So I think we have to look at it 2 ways. It's very objective. There's no agenda. There's no kind of, someone trying to push a narrative. But there's also the fact that these stats is 5 games. If I looked at 5 games, I wouldn't look at 5 games and tell you that it will give me a certain conclusion of a player or of a team. It doesn't work like that.
But it's 5 games out of a 7-game tournament. So maybe that's the context we can add. I don't know whether that helps.
I guess. But, as we always say, tournament football and, kind of league football are very different animals. They are played differently. The kind of things that make you successful are different, So, because in a tournament like this, all you need is not concede. That's more important than, let's say, in a league where you consistently need to be scoring goals. Because remember, in the league, a draw is 2 points lost compared to a win. So those type of things are what we have to look out for. So it's played slightly differently, but I think the statistical significance should just tell you that this team has been good. This team has proven their quality over the course of the tournament. So if you are someone who believes that it's about consistency and that kind of thing, it's about the way you've played, you can look at the stats and be very sure of them. But if you're someone who believes that football is completely, is about the moment and that kind of stuff, ignore the stats. And that's okay. It's not for everybody.
All right.